So here we have the Living End deck. Living End, it's been a player in Modern for a while, but it's never really been a tier 1 deck in Modern. Graveyard Hate is definitely annoying, but now with Golgari Grave Troll and Friends being out of the format, Living End may have its chance to shine, just because Dredge was really a miserable matchup for Living End, and not only that, but people are going to be shaving Graveyard Hate with Dredge out of the format, so this is a different way of playing out of your graveyard, getting creatures into play out of your graveyard. So this is a deck that many players are somewhat familiar with. The mana base, it's Gen Colors. There is one copy of Kessig Wolfrun, so this is a way to push through the last few points of damage. Being able to give something like a Jungle Weaver or a Monstrous Carabid trample, and then the added pump effect, it's nice. There's 3 copies of Living End itself, but there's 8 Cascaders. So the idea here is that if we play a Demonic Dread or play Violent Outburst, that's going to essentially mean casting Living End. We don't want to actually draw Living End itself, because suspending Living End, it just is a little bit too slow, and it's not where you want to be. So the 8 Cascade effects allow you to basically cheat the Living End and to cast it for free. So there are a bunch of cyclers. There's also 4 copies of Fulminator Mage. So Fulminator, there's a lot of non-basic lands in Modern, Shocklands in particular, and so Fulminator, it just disrupts your opponent, and then you can bring the Fulminators back. You can sacrifice them again once you've cast a Living End. So this card really adds up, and the fact that it goes to your graveyard, you want to be playing a bunch of creatures that can go to your graveyard very easily. Beast Within, it's another card that can be land destruction, but it's just a versatile card. It can deal with any permanent you might want to, and then once you cast the Living End, that 3/3 Beast token that your opponent may have received off the Beast Within, it disappears. Couple Simian Spirit Guides to speed the deck up. Now we're getting into the cyclers. So Architects of Will, this is the one that allows you to set up your deck or the opponent's when it comes into play. So you can look at the top 3 and then order them however you choose. Now this is the one cycler that we can't actually cast. We need to get it into play from the graveyard because it does have blue mana in the casting cost. Deadshot Minotaur, it's a way to deal with flyers, another cycler. Monstrous Carabid, another 1 mana cycler. This guy, he has to attack each turn of Fable, but once you cast the Living End, you want to be attacking your opponent anyways. And then Street Wraith is arguably the best cycler just because it's 0 mana, but that life loss is going to be annoying if you're up against an aggressive deck. And then there's 3 copies of Jungle Weaver. This is a 2 mana cycler, but it's worth it just because it's a little bit of a larger creature compared to the other ones. And then 2 copies of Shriekmaw. So Shriekmaw, we can evoke it, which is kind of like cycling, not really, but we can evoke it, take out an opposing creature. Then once we cast Living End, we can get the Shriekmaw back, kill a creature when it comes back. So it's really good against any creature-based deck. Shriekmaw is. So moving on to the sideboard, there's another copy of Shriekmaw. You notice that there's a lot of creatures still that go to your graveyard, and then you can get them back with Living End, because that's what this deck does. It needs to cast Living End in order to win most games. So there's another Shriekmaw. There's 4 copies of Ingature. So this is the card that you board in against any deck with lots of artifacts. You can kill an artifact for 1, then when you Living End, it comes in, you can take out another artifact. 1 copy of Slaughter Games for the combo decks of the four. Then there's 4 copies of Ricochet Trap. So Ricochet Trap, it's good against any of the blue control decks. It helps you force through Living End, so you can answer a counterspell with a Ricochet Trap by redirecting that counterspell to the Ricochet Trap itself. So it's just a good card against most of the blue decks of the format. 1 Fairy Macabre, so there used to be more of these, but with less graveyard decks, there's only 1. As a way to discard it from your hand for free, and then you can Living End it back, potentially. And then some anti-burn / aggressive cards, so a couple Brindlebores. Just a dude that you can sack to gain life, and then Gnaw to the Bones. So you are going to have amassed a lot of creatures in your graveyard most games. So Gnaw to the Bone it can be a gain 8 with flashback type cards. So it's very powerful in the matchups where it's good. So this is Living End. I've been happy with this list, and it seems to be in a good position right now.